Hello. Time. I am Tracy Glenn. Kenzie Days is dead. Along with me tonight, I have my lovely daughter Kenzie Days,
Hello.
and our lovely friend Angela from Diz Dream. And today
Star Wars.
we're going to talk Star Wars, kind of in honor of the Mandalorian season 2 trailer drop, which is awesome. By the way,
That's so beautiful.
I watched it like 4 more times.
I just love his little face when he sees the gun. He's like,
what I did was I saw, I like certain things on Facebook, and one of them was Star Wars. So it showed the trailer and then everybody's comments. There were like 400 comments. So many people were saying that, like, just the way people put it, like he skirted out of there, boom, like he would hit, the way people were saying it, you could tell they were all different ages and whatever they referred to it as, but I knew what they were talking about. Some lady was like, I'm done,
Well, so let me just say one thank you to the Live Place for hosting my stream, Not Wasting Time, on Thursdays from 4 to 5. Don't forget to check out Dreaming with the Mouse on Myers and the Mouse channel today at 5 o'clock. And let's get to the chat. Mike Wheeler was first in the house. And we have Jonathan Chung, who said second in the world. Russ Stapleton. He said he has some pretty good questions for Jedi Master Tracy. Let's see if the Force is strong with him. Rob Fuzz in the house. Rob Fuzz has also watched the Mando trailer 4 times. And he also said, Ken's, it's not that cold.
Listen, AC is freezing. Okay? And my apartment is cold.
Our AC isn't running at all. I have it set to 76, so it doesn't turn on unless it gets up to 76.
My AC is freezing. So I'm wearing my hat and my hoodie.
We also have Noah from Diz Noah's Adventures. Rockin' Robin, welcome in. Kenzie, you might need a bundle up. You look a little freezing. And JNN Travels, welcome in, guys. So I am part of the Nerd Talk group along with Angela from Diz Dream, Kenzie Days, and Russ Stapleton. I am also known as the Star Wars nerd of our group, which space shows I'm a pretty good. I have some really strange.
Okay, but it's still cold.
I have some very, very, very strange Star Wars knowledge, and it looks like Jeff Akios. I'm not sure if I say that right or not. But welcome in. So,
why is Jeff using a weird account?
Is it Jeff?
Is that Jeff?
I don't think it's my Jeff. Jeff
What Jeff is it? There's so many Jeffs.
There's many Jeffs. So if we've watched, I actually, Ken, you were home for lunch, and after you went back to your apartment at lunch, and Billy went back to.
It's Jeff.
Baby Jeff.
Is it Baby Jeff?
Baby Jeff. I took the Fire Stick, went on to YouTube, and went to the search bar, and all I did was type in M. And what do you think the first thing? Mandalorian season 2 trailer. So I watched it on the big screen, and then I watched a few other YouTubers that do breakdowns and stuff to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan of Rockstars. If you've ever seen this group called Rockstars, they do a lot of nerd breakdown, movie breakdowns, and stuff like that. I highly recommend them for breakdowns, and they came away with some of the characters, because I originally looked at the trailer, and then after watching these other guys, I had a different take on what I seen in the first one, and I have a different opinions on what they also are looking at. So what I noticed watching it instead of on a small computer screen or on my phone. The first 2 times I watched the trailer, so I watched it a couple more times on the big screen TV, is that opening shot of the Mando ship, the Razor Crest coming over that gas giant. looking at that forest moon. Now, people are saying that this might actually be. People are saying it might be Yavin, but if you look back at the original show, the first Star Wars, Yavin comes off a little bit more red. I think this might actually be one of the forest, or maybe the forest moon of Endor. I'm not sure. But if you also look at the Razor Crest is in bad shape at this point in time. The engine is sputtering. The docking bay is open. So the Razor Crest is getting a little bit of got a little bit of workout before it got to there. Welcome in Amy from AJC Magic.
She said that the person that's narrating it says, "Show me the whatever."
Right. Well,
it's caused all this destruction or whatever.
Right. So if you listen to that, that's one of the last speeches that you got from the Mandalorian armorer, the one that shows she's the one who gives him the horn beast, the horn signet.
Yes.
And so they're just replaying her little bit of a speech, and they're pretty much. I think that's a recap of what you're going to see in this season.
Right.
So, but again, I noticed where it looks like he's been in a battle right before he gets there. I mean, he could be going to the forest moon of Endor. I mean, it is the last place that was known as the Emperor's death. You know, we don't, you know, at this point in time in the timeline, they don't know about the rise of Skywalker and the Emperor Rebirth.
Right. Oh.
So maybe Mando's going back to what they know of recent history of Jedi / Sith or Force wielders activity. He may be going back to a moon in Endor.
Right.
They don't know that Jedi were good, though.
No, what you got to remember is the Mandalorians and the Jedi have a very, very strange history where there's only been, according to, if you watch Rebels says that the Jedi and the Mandalorians actually battled each other. And there's only been one Mandalorian Jedi who created the Darksaber, which we've seen at the end of the first season of Mando.
Man, yeah. But see, we learn that not everybody sees the Jedi as good people.
We also learned that in Rebels the last season when we see what Ahsoka Tano goes through when she leaves the Order. So I think looking at it, we've seen a couple of different areas. We've seen, like, a lot of people are saying that the ice planet that we see or the snow planet that we see is the same planet that's in The Force Awakens as the Starkiller base. It also is it's also in the Jedi, the Fallen Order Jedi.
Oh, I love it.
So not Hoth.
Everybody's, you know, most of these other breakdown clippers, they think it's going to be that homeworld. I'm still thinking with Hoth. I'm still thinking.
I'm thinking they're retracing Luke's last steps, like all of his steps, Tatooine, Hoth, you know, all the places he's been.
I originally thought Hoth myself, but the more that I did think about it, I did kind of one second. I did think that it was on the planet from Fallen Order. I'm forgetting what it's called. Ilum, I think.
Yes, it's called Ilum.
Yeah, that planet was really fun to play on. And
Russ is absolutely right. They could be going to planets that we've never heard of or places that we've never heard of, only for the fact that, I mean, it's a galaxy. They can create as many worlds.
Go to Batuu.
What's that?
Imagine if they went to Batuu.
They went to Batuu.
Wouldn't that be cool? Because then they could incorporate the whole, pull it all together. You know, eventually they're going to go to Batuu, don't you think?
They're going to have to.
Featured somewhere.
They could, in the Star Wars Rebels, there's the homeworld of Ezra Bridger, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember and I just watched it. They're saying that one industrial town that you see him in, that might be it. That might be where he is going to. And they also say that you see that one character that's kind of staring at Mando and the baby as in that one town.
Yes.
When I originally saw that,
Katana, right? Or what's her name?
well, everybody's thinking when I
Everyone
first saw
thinks
it,
what's her name from Rebels?
yeah, everybody's. Originally thought it was going to be Ahsoka Tano, but they said that Ahsoka Tano's not in the trailer. It might actually be Sabine Wren, who is in Rebels, who was last seen at the end of Rebels taking a trip with Ahsoka Tano to find Ezra Bridger.
Oh, okay.
Who knows what we're going to see? Hello, Elise 33i. Star Wars is an awesome movie series, and they have a great Mandalorian show going on.
Yes.
So, sorry.
Oh, good. Keep going.
And then you see the fight scene, and then you see Baby Yoda close his carriage type, or but what's interesting when you watch that trailer, that whole fight scene that you hear after he activates his crickets, the little rockets on his wrists.
Yeah.
It's black, and all you hear is ting 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 ting, everything going off.
Yes.
They put you in the same perspective as Baby Yoda or the child. He doesn't see what's going on. Neither do you.
Oh yeah. It's like those things could be hitting off of his little.
Well, I don't think it's going to be hitting off of him. It's just that this is what he would hear inside there, completely dark.
True.
But unlike him, we don't have the Force, so we wouldn't be able to feel what's going on around us.
See, I really love. I'm excited for new Baby Yoda scenes in this new season. Obviously, Mom and I are gonna rewind it 30 times. Dad's gonna have to watch it without us.
Yes. Or we're gonna have to fast forward to the end and then rewind.
Oh yeah, no. I think what we're gonna have to do is like Dad's gonna have to watch it without us or watch it before us, and then Mom and I watch it. So
Yeah.
he can sit there and let it happen because he already knows what's gonna happen, so he's not gonna be stressed out.
No, I'll be stressed out every time you turn around and say, "Could you rewind that?"
No,
so
that's
we
what
can
I'm
see
saying.
Baby-
You watch it beforehand.
But I'll be stressed out worried
No.
about what happened to Baby Yoda. That's the thing. I'm gonna need some reassurance that nothing happens to Baby Yoda during the episode, then I can watch it. I don't care what happens to anybody else.
We fell in love with his little face.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Like we really did.
as far as question and answers, I know that I was texted by Angela earlier in the week after the Mandalorian.
Yeah. We're gonna bring this up, Kenzie. We're gonna bring this up.
We got to bring it up. And it was brought up to her attention that
By my son.
Baby Yoda may be a Sith because he used a chokehold in season 1. And then I had my opinion on this is I don't think Baby Yoda is a Sith, only for the fact that even though he had used the chokehold, doesn't mean he knew what it entails or what it does. You know, I mean, he knows that he can protect it. It's the same thing as a child. When you start bringing up a child, you have to teach him what is right and wrong. You don't teach him. If you let a child go to his own devices, right?
Right.
It will eventually do some wrong things in its life. A child will do a wrong thing in life. So
he was just protecting his dad.
So
he
here's-
was
here's
protecting.
the thing. Here's what Zach said. So Zach said that Anakin could not do any chokehold like that, or he couldn't do that until he decided he was going to turn to the dark side.
Well, that is correct. And then I brought it up to Angela.
He couldn't do it, or he didn't choose to do it. That's what I didn't know.
Exactly. Jedi always have that force.
But so the Jedi never do it. Is it because they can't do it, or because they choose
No,
not?
they choose not to. It's just like me. I could physically choke anybody that I can have power over. If obviously if you're stronger than me and you could fight me off, it would be hard. But if
Right.
you take somebody of a weaker, and obviously if you're using the force, you're definitely stronger than somebody else in that
Right.
area.
Right. So do the Jedi believe that's not like a?
It's not proper.
It's not proper. use
Right.
of your power. So
Great,
they
Darcy.
not to, but they could. Okay.
Right. It's like teaching your kid not to steal or take stuff from somebody that doesn't belong to them. Right.
Right.
It's
Right.
teaching your kids that morals of murder is bad.
Right.
You know, if the Sith in their mindset and they bring up their teachings as anything to promote myself and to make me stronger and to make me more thriving. So murder is not out of the realm of a Sith. So once Anakin goes and uses that chokehold, he now definitely has crossed down. Well, first off, by the time he gets to Padme, he's crossed the line because he just killed a bunch of
Children.
he just killed a bunch of children
Yeah,
in
but
the
he
Jedi
used his
Temple.
lightsaber for that, right? Or what did
Right,
he?
he used a lightsaber and he pretty much slaughtered younglings at the temple. So he had already crossed that line by the time he got there.
Yeah.
You know, by the time he goes to and meets Obi-Wan and uses the chokehold on Padme, he had already crossed that line.
Okay.
So
Russ thinks that Baby Yoda is the reason Palpatine is able to return.
I think it's secretly working with an army of death porgs to bring about the new Sith Order. The child is the reason.
I want to see them like link these all together. I want to see some linkage between this and the Force Awakens at some point.
Well, in the and I never got the understanding. I mean, when we first started watching the Force Awakens, we come across the first planet we come across is Jakku, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea where Jakku comes from. It doesn't come from anywhere. I'm a huge Star Wars reading nerd too. I like to read books. I like to read the novels. I've read a lot of the old what they consider legacy novels now,
That are no longer canon.
which are no longer canon. But they did come out with a 3-book series called Aftermath. It was Aftermath, Empire, Aftermath, Life, Debt, and then Aftermath, Empire's End. Those 3 books is a trilogy that leads up to
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. And welcome in Karki, Carol. Nice to see you. So in these 3-book trilogies, you have the first one of Aftermath, and what you come across is the main character from the movie. There's only one main character from the movie in these books is actually Wedge Antilles, who is a starfighter pilot. He is traveling to these outer reaches, and he goes to this not planet Jakku, but just another planet, and he runs into he gets shot down, or he gets taken aboard by a Star Destroyer by some admiral. And
That was Luke's friend, right?
huh?
But he was Luke's friend,
Right. Wedge Antilles would be a rogue leader or red leader. So in other words, he, you know, when Luke Skywalker did go with Red or Rogue Squadron, the leader of Red or Rogue Squadron was Wedge Antilles in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So Wedge is taken aboard, and then we go into this forest world. You have a former pilot for the Resistance who goes. She's going home. She's going home to see her kid because her husband had been taken during the Empire time. And she goes home. She goes back to her child, who she's left for 3 years. She left her child at 10, and now she comes back. The kid is 13, and he's definitely he's definitely like moved on and tried to take care of himself, and the relationship between him and his mom is strained. What it is this novel and the Empire is getting together. The remnants of the Empire are getting together to kind of see who's going to run the future Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So between this former pilot who happens to see that Wedge has been captured, there's another commando team. They go there. They kind of defeat this area. Defeat the what's going on there, and then you move into Life Debt. And Life Debt was.
I'll be back to use the bathroom.
That's okay. Life Debt is. It centers around the same people we kind of met in the first book, and we also bring in Han Solo because inside the first book you have little interludes of what's going on throughout the galaxy, and Han Solo and Chewbacca has a chance to save Kashyyyk, the Wookiee homeworld. And to come to find out in the second book, it was a setup, and Chewbacca was captured, and Han Solo is now out there trying to find his co-pilot. So Leia contracts with this team to go out and find her husband, Han Solo.
Okay.
And once they do meet them, it is now taken to a point in time where it's they do meet Han Solo. They meet him. They find him, and then they go through and they find this prison that has Chewbacca and all these other prisoners from the Empire, who is also this woman's husband is also on there. So they take them all back, and this former admiral, who's actually like a puppet head, because they have some other admiral or some other Empire guy who was like a secret right-hand man of the Emperor himself, who set up this contingency plan.
Mhm.
And then the next book goes into the whole thing and how the Empire was designed to fail with this contingency plan. So in other words, when the Empire dies, he had set it up that the rest of the Empire would die, and he would go and start off a new reborn empire, which is called
Hey, Dean.
and this is where you get the New Order. The New Order, it comes from these three books, and you could see that they're taking children. So like when we're watching The Force Awakens, you're wondering, why is General Hux so young?
Yeah.
General Hux was actually when he was a child. He was a child of a former commandant of an academy, and he was taken to the New Order homeworld under the direction of Palpatine's shadow enforcer to start the New Order. In other words, if the Emperor looked at it as if the Empire wasn't strong enough to keep him from dying, then the Empire should die and the New Order shall rise.
Okay.
So that's how they brought in, and so like we're watching the movies, we see the Return of the Jedi, the Empire is destroyed, and then you come into The Force Awakens, and you have a whole different type of Empire, but they're called the New Order. So what's the difference, the change? Why, in the books, the legacy books, that used to be called the Empire splintered into factions. And then once they finally decided to sue for peace, the New Republic gave them this nice little area in some corner of the galaxy, and they called it the Empire Remnant.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until an outside enemy that came into the galaxy that brought everything together, including the old Empire, the New Republic, everything in the galaxy came together as one government. And that was in the Yuuzhan Vong book series, which was super, super crazy and long. I did talk for a very long time there.
No, that's okay. So I have to ask a question that's totally off topic. Well, not totally off topic,
No,
but
that's fine. I will answer any question that I will try to in my head come up with.
well, this has to do with just cinema and how things work and the technology and stuff. So in the one movie, I think it was Rogue One. Okay, Rogue One, they had Grand Moff Tarkin there,
Mm-hmm.
and they also had Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher. And then I've noticed too in some other movies, like Kurt Russell in that Avengers movie, they brought him back. But they show these people when they look younger. Are they getting video of them when they were younger? Because they look just like them. Or they're not trying to recreate them as a younger person. Because, when they showed Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, that was Michelle Pfeiffer when she was young.
Correct. So what they're doing is for the actor, or almost like when we're watching Infinity War or anything else, you have a person standing in for that actor, and they go into with a computer and they digitally alter the face and bring in a younger looking face of the actor that they're trying to portray. So they got a body double to stand in for Grand Moff Tarkin, and they superimposed a younger face on this guy's face.
Okay.
Why did they do that?
because one, they didn't want to recast such a popular character. The same thing with Princess Leia. If you would have got to a New Hope and you seen a different person portraying Princess Leia, would you have believed that was Princess Leia? Yes, that person could have had that. The actress could have had buns, looked and dressed in a white robe. But if you see a different face, are you going to believe that's Leia?
Yeah,
They did with Dumbledore.
I know Russ is teasing me to have a time machine. I know they. I know that. But my thing is, like, could they somehow bring back some of these characters? Like, maybe make movies. It would be neat to see, in between episode 6 and 7, what happened with some of these things.
Well, the hardest part there is you got actors who may still be alive, or their families, or their what do they call it? Their legacy?
What are you confused about?
They're just so young that you can't portray. Like, it would be to go back and see Luke. Like, say if they incorporated him somehow into a Mandalorian episode.
There'd be no way to have Mark Hamill be younger.
Right.
Well, they could go in. They can always go back and superimpose his face on an actor, but then again, you also have to have that actor who is alive agree to it.
Right.
All right. So when they did Grand Moff Tarkin, they went to his family and make sure that it was okay with his family that they did that.
Yeah. And obviously they're not going to play a big role because then it would look really cheesy. But for just like little snippets, like if they ever had to. And whatever happened to the whole Obi-Wan, or the whole Obi-Wan Kenobi series that they were supposed to do?
Well, I think that's still on hold.
Still on the table?
I think it's still on the table. I think COVID kind of put a little hiccup in everything.
Yeah, because that's perfect. Because Ewan McGregor is actually older now.
He is.
Could portray because it's
But,
supposed to be when he's older, but not quite Alec Guinness older.
But you also got to look at see what happened when they did the Solo story. They brought in a different actor to portray Han Solo.
We should just still have Ewan McGregor play him.
They could recast some of these roles, but then again, maybe that was one of the reasons why Han Solo flopped. They didn't buy into this actor as Harrison Ford's replacement.
I didn't buy into it. I didn't watch it.
Personally, I had no problem with recasting the role. I think that Donald Glover did a great job for Lando Calrissian. I even think the guy who played Han Solo did a great job to play Han Solo. I think the problem with Han Solo comes down to is that they didn't make it gritty. If Han Solo is supposed to be a scoundrel up until the point where he meets Luke and then has that change of heart, Solo should have been gritty, dirty, just like the Mandalorian is right now. If they would have done Solo in the same style and feel of what you're having with the Mandalorian, I think the Solo movie would have been a lot better.
I didn't see the Solo movie, so I don't know what they did with it. So
I didn't watch it either.
Because I'm a Harrison Ford fan. I saw Star Wars when it first came out. I was a child, but still, so I've always identified with Harrison Ford as Han Solo. So for me, I really wasn't interested in watching it.
It's somewhat a good movie. I mean, I'm not 100% dissatisfied with it. I just think they could have done it a lot better.
Right. Okay.
Now, Jonathan Chong brought up that even in some of the now non-canon junior reads, there were stories of who rules Coruscant had to found the glove of Vader with powers after Death Star blew up. See, and here's the thing. So when I started reading, my first book, a Star Wars book that I ever read, I actually got it from my brother Bill. It was called Heir to the Empire, and it was it was written by Timothy Zahn, who actually got some of the background on some of the notes scribbled down by Lucas when he was coming up with some of the stuff for Star Wars. So Coruscant actually first shows up in the book called Heir to the Empire, where it takes place 5 years, pretty much the same time that we're dealing with the Mandalorian. 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, the New Republic has reestablished itself on Coruscant, and you have Luke Skywalker being visited by Ben Kenobi for the last time, or Obi-Wan Kenobi for the last time, and then he goes out to on his adventures. So they're looking for, and the remnants of the Empire has a new leader called Grand Admiral Thrawn. Tuna, welcome in, Butterball, Game Board Cheater.
Did you see Russ's comment there? I agree.
I think it would be interesting to give some hints of Solo and Chewie and the Mandalorian. They should be running around at the time. I don't know about that right about this time. I think if you look at it, it's we don't. I don't think they ever say how old Ben Solo is. If Ben Solo is anywhere between the ages of
No,
18,
Han Solo.
right? Han Solo.
Yeah.
If Ben Solo is about 18 or 19, somewhere like that. If they're saying that Ben Solo in The Force Awakens up into The Return of Skywalker, and I'm not going to even acknowledge that comment, Tina.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Driver, they could bring him, they could have him play a younger Ben Solo, I would think.
Yeah, but the thing is Ben Solo would have been born after Return of the Jedi. So even if he was born right after Return of the Jedi, at the oldest he would be during The Mandalorian.
They could get away with a child because
It's 5.
you expect him to look like
Right, but I mean,
Kylo Ren.
he would be a 5-year-old.
He would be 5.
At the most, he could be is 5.
Keep in mind, this is 15 years before Force Awakens. He's
So-
probably like 20
If
in
he,
Force Awakens.
Okay.
in The Force Awakens, if Ben Solo is supposed to be the age of 20, that would mean that he was born right after Return of the Jedi. So that would put him right at that age. So he would be about 5 during the Mandalorian time.
Okay. But that would be kind of cool to make him have an appearance. wouldn't it?
Russ is saying that Han and Chewie.
He's thinking Han, yeah.
But I would assume that at the age of 5, Han would still be home with Leia, or trying to
Raise their son.
correct.
Maybe.
And then the Empire's End and this whole that book series that I read, that's actually about the same time that's happening during the Mandalorian time, because this is right about the time that Leia is pregnant for Ben Solo. So she hadn't given birth to Ben Solo. So during this aftermath, it happens pretty much after the end of Return of the Jedi, and the last defeat of the Empire is at Jakku. So that's where you come in with the Jakku, and you see in the beginning of Force Awakens all these ships that are destroyed that have been around forever.
I have a great idea. So Ben would be 5 and Baby Yoda is 50, and they're both very young and testing their powers. Wouldn't it be neat to see them like pass each other like in a marketplace or something? And
Who knows?
Baby Yoda do something, and then Ben kind of look and do the same thing, like trying to lift something, and that would be so cool.
That would be cool.
Ben Solo and Baby Yoda run into each other in a marketplace somewhere.
And welcome in Mr. Fulton Mraz.
I love Baby Yoda so much. Like, I'm so excited for new scenes with him. Like, I'm excited for him to kind of, show off his little powers, and for Mando to kind of just be like learning about what all this is, because he doesn't know he doesn't know about any of this stuff. So
right.
It would be really cool,
So if Han were to see Mando, though, he would be afraid of him, because he's
No, I don't think he would be afraid of him. I think
he would be like, oh shoot, as long as he didn't do anything, he'd be fine. But
I would think if Han Solo met the Mandalorian, he would probably assume he would probably be Boba Fett in a different outfit.
Yeah, who knows what he would think. I mean, when we first see him, he would be thrown or whatever. But I would love to see Ben Solo and Baby Yoda meet up somewhere.
And someone put in the chat a Baby Yoda or Ben Solo Baby Yoda play date.
Yes.
that would be cute.
Trying out their powers and doing like little stuff, just like a little snippet for like 2 minutes. You know, they pass each other in the market, and then somebody say, "Come on, Ben," and just that woman's hand, grab his hand. You don't have to show Leia, and just that it's her. Grab his hand. Let's go. Let's go.
But then again, like Russ said, it would be cool. I don't see you would see them interaction, but I would say that you would probably see them as an Easter egg, something in the background.
Yes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be something very prominent.
Right.
So I'm open to questions. I'm open to questions either from you two or the chat. If you have a Star Wars question, see if I can answer it.
Questions. Because the questions I have can be answered through myself by watching the shows that I still haven't watched yet. I still haven't watched Clone Wars. I still haven't watched, any of that. I've never watched any of that kind of stuff. I've only ever watched that one movie. And I haven't watched Rebels. So I need to watch those at some point.
So you've watched the 3 prequels?
I've watched the original 3. I watched the prequels, and then I watched the recent trilogy. So I've seen all the movies. I just haven't watched the shows.
God, I haven't watched any of this either.
All right. What are these battles in Star Wars universe? Subjugation of Geonosis, Battle of Yavin, Occupation of Bespin, Liberation of Ryloth, Sith Civil War. So the Sith.
All right, I'm gonna take a break real quick. I'll be right back while you answer. Okay.
Okay. So Russ, the liberation of Ryloth happens during the Clone Wars, but the first one would be the Sith Civil War. That happens well in the old Republic. So that would be way before the time of even any of the movies. Then we have the subjugation of Geonosis battle. Subjugation of Geonosis. Geonosis actually happens through what you see in Attack of the Clones, and that actually happens even throughout the Attack of the Clones, and you also see it in. You also come back to Geonosis in the Clone Wars series. They actually go back, and what they find out on Geonosis that they wiped out all of the Geonosians, and so they come into what they find is a Geonosis queen who turns some of these people in some of the Geonosians into almost like zombie Geonosians, and they actually infect some of the clone troopers. And then the Yavin occupate the Battle of Yavin. The Battle of Yavin is in Star Wars Episode 4. That is the original Star Wars. That's the Star Wars Battle of Yavin. Occupation as Bespin is actually in The Empire Strikes Back, and Liberation of Ryloth that actually comes in the Liberation of Ryloth. If you look at it, if you look at the Clone Wars, they liberate Ryloth from the Separatists, but then again, they come under rule of the Empire, and they wouldn't be free until at least in the Rebel series.
How is all that information in your head? How? Don't understand. Hi,
What?
Dan. How are you, Dan?
Hello, Dan. Disney Dan. Welcome in. Star Wars questions. Go ahead. Anybody?
You remember what you ate for breakfast?
Yes, I had banana and an egg sandwich with bacon.
Guess what I had?
What's that?
Bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant.
So, Russ, this is very important. Jedi is the key to the prequel trilogy, but never appear in. Had his name changed.
What important Jedi that is the key to the prequel series, but never appears in it, had his name changed by typo in the Attack of the Clones because the F and D keys are too close to each other. Whose name? What Jedi?
But he doesn't appear.
He doesn't appear, but he had his name changed because of a typo. I don't know that.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one, Russ. I did read the novelization.
Dan.
Yeah. So Dan, my question is why does the Attack of the Clones have no scenes I like? Well, the problem comes down to there is that Dan, it's a personal preference. I know that when I watch Attack of the Clones, there are some salvageable scenes in it. I think the love scenes get kind of corny.
Don't even talk about them. Don't even talk about any. No. I don't like sand.
So,
Don't like sand.
oh, Sifo Dyas. Sifo Dyas is huge in the Clone Wars. And he actually was found in the Clone Wars that actually it was Count Dooku who murdered Sifo Dyas.
Karki wants to know how you know which books are canon.
They're
all none of them are canon.
Well, no, there are some that are canon. There are some that are canon, like the Aftermath series are canon. So
Those little books that you have downstairs,
they're all considered legacy. Now, when I was reading all of those books, at the time that I was reading all those books, they were considered canon because what Lucasfilm did and Lucas Books did before Disney bought them was that if they contracted with an author to write a book, it had to fit the timeline. In other words, if there was a character killed off in one book and you wrote a book in a future story, you could not bring that character back to life, and you couldn't change what happened in other books. Now, the only person, because even in some of the novels back in the day, it was in the novels, the Death Star was created in what was called the Maul complex, which was surrounded by a bunch of black holes, and it was in a nice little secure area that Tarkin and some designer came up with the Death Star. That all went out the window as soon as Lucas came out with his prequel trilogy in Attack of the Clones, and you do see the Death Star blueprints. So now the only person that can mess with that book canon was Lucas himself.
Okay. I can answer both of Garrett's questions. Why did they kill off Darth Maul? They didn't. 2, why did they create the worst character? To appease children. There you go.
Right. Darth Maul.
He's in Clone Wars. He's in the TV show.
Correct.
And
the final death scene for Darth Maul actually comes in Rebels. Oh, no, it comes in. It does come in Rebels.
They wanted Jar Jar Binks because they wanted something to appeal to children.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
New Ange.
So
and Dan makes a very good point.
Who?
Dan. I don't like sand. He comes from a planet made of it.
That is true.
I don't like cold weather, and I live in Pittsburgh.
But here's
go ahead.
But here's the thing. If now I bring back to this to the original Star Wars, A New Hope, because the Star Wars, when it first came out, there was no Episode 4 attached to it. It was never called The New Hope. It was just called Star Wars. When you watch it again, and for some reason it always sticks out in my mind, when you had the scene with Luke talking with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, they're drinking the blue milk, and they're talking, and next thing you know, Luke just switches the subject like this. And while, yes, I know kids don't have a one-track mind and they just bounce all over the place, I just think that was a bad, normal conversation. And why is it bad, normal conversation? And why does it come off like that? Because Lucas wrote the script and Lucas also directed that script. Why do you think? Huh?
What were they saying? They were talking about dinner, and then he
They were talking about. I really hope those new droids work out, and something about he wants to go down to Tasha City. Huh?
Basically, Dad's saying Lucas is a bad writer.
No, Lucas isn't a bad writer. Just sometimes his direction and his conversation. If you watch it again, whenever you watch New Hope and you watch that scene, when they're drinking the blue milk, or the first time you ever see blue milk, just watch it as somebody who's been watching good films for a while, and you look back at it and like it was a bad transition in speech.
Okay.
So,
Did you-
because I was thinking kids do that all the time, don't they? They're thinking about something else. They're thinking about the next thing they want to say. They're trying to kind of distract you. I don't know.
I understand that, but I just think in that type of movie and the way it's coming across, because Luke's not a 15-year-old. He's not a 13-year-old. I'd expect a 13-year-old to have that transition of thought and transition of speech,
Right.
but not an 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
Incorrect. That is how my brain works. You said you were here to answer questions. Russ asked you a question.
Oh, what was?
There you go. See, Kenzie
You're
just
not reading the chat, dude. You're just going off
There
on.
was actually a character that was a scruffy looking nerf herder. That guy hurt a nurse on screen. What was? Oh my God! Please come on. I like trying to think who.
You know it. That's the
Solo.
problem.
I don't know that one, and I think he's looking stuff up on the internet just to screw with me, just to mess with me.
I think it was Han Solo. What's the answer?
No, Han Solo was a smuggler. Scruffy heard.
I thought maybe did Princess Leia say that? Sounds like a Princess Leia one liner.
Yeah, she used it as an insult. She called him a scruffy looking nerf herder when he said something about when Han Solo was trying to get out of and go back, and they all got put on hold.
Okay.
In Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really long time since I've watched all of Star Wars. There are so many things I kind of want to just sit down and watch.
Yep.
Those things being Harry Potter, Star Wars, and the Marvel movies in chronological order, not release order. I do want to watch them in chronological with episodes of Agents Shield in between it. Russ said, in The Empire Strikes Back, primarily takes place in two sectors. The Sluis sector, and that includes the Dagobah system, and the sector that includes other planets in the film.
So Dagobah is where Yoda was. And then what's he talking about? Hoth or no? Something else.
Well, Hoth, what he's saying is Dagobah's in one sector. Hoth, because if you're looking at it, Hoth, when they escape the planet Hoth, they actually don't get away that far. They actually stay and they attach themselves to the back of the Star Destroyer, and they have to make a quick jump over to Bespin, which would be close enough. So it's not like you jump from one side of the galaxy to the other. Welcome in, Keith, Joey's best friend. And Dan said the only good thing about Attack of the Clones is the credits. Funniest part of the movie, because that's how horrible it is. I have come to know that Disney Dan is a huge, huge hater of Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
So like for me, when I read the books, there's actually a series of books called the X-Wing series. And the only person in this series of books that were mentioned from the movies was Wedge Antilles. And Luke Skywalker makes an appearance once or twice in the whole 10 books of this series. And it's an excellent series. And it's how they got and liberated Coruscant. And then, so they had like, it's almost like a fighter series.
Mm-hmm.
Like a air pilot series. So that was pretty cool. And it goes into a little bit of commando missions, and then they bring in another squadron that's called the Wraith Squadron, which is like another X-Wing pilot / commando team. Mm-hmm. In real life, this material made up of nanobenzenes, salt, pepper, sulfur, and Damascus Earth would have caused Bespin to explode. Yeah. So, well, sorry. Russ is just really trying to get me. I mean, I'm a nerd. I'm like not super deep nerd.
You're pretty deep.
books. I've read books, a lot of books. I've actually read. There is a book that I think it may still be canon, and I'm not 100% sure. It was called Shadows of the Empire, and it actually takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And it actually, there was a video game for this. It was so when you're dealing with this one, it has Vader, it has the leader of the Black Sun, and Luke, Leia, and it deals with, and you see some of the growth of Luke as a Jedi, and how they, so that was an interesting read that went along with the video game at the time.
I'm gonna go on mute for a minute.
That's all right. Russ is definitely trying to stump me, Ken's.
So I think let's say what the worst scene in the Star Wars is. I think it's the floating pear. I hate it. I hate the pear so much. What's your least favorite Star Wars scene? Ever. Every time you watch a movie, every time you watch a Star Wars movie, you have to skip it. Or you want to skip it desperately. Any scene with Jar Jar Binks.
No, I think all the love scenes.
Yeah, it's the pear. It's the floating pear. I hate that.
So Russ, name all the planets where Master Yoda sets foot on in all 6 canon films. So he's in Coruscant. He's on.
Are you actually?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna try. He's
Okay.
on. In episode one, we first see him on Coruscant. In episode 2, we see him on Attack of the Clones. He actually goes to. I think he goes. Actually, he has to have gone to.
I'm sharing my screen to show them the floating pear. Because I hate it. There's a scene in Attack of the Clones where Anakin and Padme are eating, and Anakin just for some reason floats a pear across the table in all of its awful CGI horror, and I hate it. It's the worst. Look at this thing.
The floating pear.
Look at it. I hate it.
So
So much.
I'm still trying to work on Russ's. He's not.
And then she cuts it and eats it in awful CGI horror.
Is she impressed with the floating pear? I don't remember.
She does. She takes it and she forks it in the middle of the air.
Yeah, catches it on her fork. It's awful. I hate it.
So Russ, on episode 2, he actually has to go to he has to go to the clone homeworld.
You've got 5 minutes still dreaming with the mouse.
I know that. Goes to Kimono to pick up the clones. He then goes to Geonosis with the battle. In episode 3, he is he's on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk.
Don't look at chat. Don't look at chat. He listed it. Don't look at chat.
And then after Kashyyyk, he goes back to Coruscant. Then he goes to Dagobah, and he finishes his life in Dagobah.
She'd prefer a floating pepper or floating tomato.
And I was 100% correct.
You were. Congratulations.
Or chili pepper. Hey guys, I have to jump.
Yes, we will see you in a couple of minutes when we pop over to.
Fun.
So guys, if you haven't if you want, go and check out Diz Our Dream. You have Angela with her significant other, her worst half, Jeff Mato, and the pair of Kelly and Mama from Myers and the Mouse with Dreaming with the Mouse on Myers and the Mouse channel. Thank you again, Angela, for showing up.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
That was difficult.
Now, are you getting warm or something?
A little warmer. Well, Russ looked all those things up online.
I would assume he did. But then again, we never know.
Imagine he just has all that info in his brain. That'd be crazy. I have no clue if you. It's same, honestly. I love Star Wars, but I don't think I'd be able to ever have that much knowledge in my brain about it. I mean, Star Wars is just such a huge, vast universe. It's not like Harry Potter's really big. Harry Potter has its lore and stuff like that, but Harry Potter doesn't have lore compared to Star Wars.
And here's the thing with the Star Wars, the galaxy of Star Wars, and when you deal with it, George Lucas he did come up with the galaxy, but then now selling it to Disney, if Disney does the right thing, they can have so much more stories and make it really good. You don't have to have Jedi in every episode, just like The Mandalorian. If you look at it, it doesn't need. It has a Force prospect, but it's not Jedi heavy. So there's.
What's amazing about The Mandalorian is that there's not a Skywalker to be seen. They're nowhere.
Just posted where the questions and answers came from.
Cool. What were you saying? Not everything has to be Force based. Not everything has to be
Jedi based. So,
I mean, I think Mandalorian is amazing.
I think they got to get a good person to lead the Lucasfilm, and let Lucasfilm do Star Wars.
Well,
Disney owns the property, but they got to let. I think that's what happens when I think that's what happened with Solo. With Solo, I think they were looking at Disneyfying Star Wars, and I don't think it worked. And I think when you go to The Mandalorian, they didn't super Disneyfy it. They got it gritty. They got it.
Isn't that like that's a lot of Jon Favreau's influence? Yes.
Yes, and I think that's what they need. But if you still, hopefully Disney has given it to a point where they can say this system works. Let's hold off and not mess with it.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I mean, Marvel, which we all love, you can tell there's a difference between pre-Disney Marvel and Marvel and Disney Marvel. There is a difference between the two.
And like I was saying, I mean, I'm personally just talking about information in your brain. The lore in Star Wars is so massive that I'd never be able to remember all of it. I think, not enough storage in my brain for that. Harry Potter, I can kind of get with that lore. I like Harry Potter lore. I need to read all the books at some point. I've only read like the first 3. And then a lore for stuff like, I mean, lore for Twilight is very minuscule.
Correct.
Like, Twilight lore is basically Volturi. There you go. And then, like, Marvel. Marvel lore is a little more complicated. I think it just all really depends on how it's built. I mean, things like Marvel have been built so far over time, over so many different people. There's not one linear story in all of canon. There's a bunch of different types of canon compared to Star Wars that has one primary canon.
So we're coming up on an hour. It's now 5:00. I want to thank you all for being here. If you get a chance, if you're watching on replay, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you liked what you see, consider subscribing and ringing a bell. I go on Thursdays from 4 to 5, not wasting time. This is currently episode 21. But it's not my 21st Thursday. There's been a couple of getting to know yous in there. Check out Dean from the Live Place. Kenzie, what do you got coming up?
Nerd Talk on Sunday at 4 o'clock on Russ Stapleton on What in the World and Russ with Russ on that channel, and Monday 4:30 to 5:30.
All right, guys. Again, check out Dean from the Live Place.
And go over to
our family-friendly streams, and please go over to Dreaming with the Myers and the Mouse for Dreaming with the Mouse. And yes, thank you, Russ. This is my 1 year anniversary. 1 year as of yesterday was my first upload. So I've been doing something steady now for a while.
Yep.
I want to thank you guys for all showing up. Kenzie, thank you for coming on to your dad's stream and trying to be pretty cool. No, Garrett, not my birthday. And it's my YouTube anniversary. All right, guys, I'm going to let go so I don't run too far over into Dreaming with the Mouse. Guys, thank you and see you next. And thank you for giving me your Thursday.
Bye.